afternoon. In a rapidly shifting Middle East, the context for influence has reached a new threshold, just days after US President Donald Trump's high-profile Gulf tour, where nearly $4 trillion in economic and military deals were signed. Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued a bold invitation to all Arab League leaders and the Secretary General of the Arab League for the first ever RussiaArab Summit, set for October 15th in Moscow. This unprecedented move signals Moscow's intent to deepen its regional footprint, counterbalance Washington's long-standing dominance as the Palestinian-Israeli conflict intensifies and crises in Gaza worsen. The timing of this summit could not be more critical. Will Russia's diplomatic overture reshape alliances and strategic calculus in the Middle East? Welcome to Depth. Russian President Vladimir Putin has formally invited all leaders of the Arab League and its Secretary General to attend the inaugural Russia-Arab Summit on October 15th, according to Arab News. Putin expressed confidence that the summit will strengthen mutual beneficial cooperation and help advance peace, security, and stability in the Middle East and North Africa. This announcement follows US President Trump's recent Gulf tour, where major investments in arms deals were secured with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The summit underscores Russia's ambition to expand its influence and foster dialogue with the 22
has formally invited Arab leaders and the Secretary General of the Arab League to attend the first ever Russian-Arab Summit, scheduled for October 15th. The invitation, issued through the Kremlin and widely reported by Russian media, marks a significant step in Moscow's outreach to the Arab world. This invite comes a few days after the US President Donald Trump's Gulf tour, during which he announced billions of dollars in deals and massive investment commitments with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. The timing of this announcement seems to suggest that Russia is attempting to challenge the American hegemony and engage in the Western Russian race in the region. Putin said that this summit will further strengthen the mutually beneficial, multifaceted cooperation between Russia and Arab countries and will help in finding ways to ensure peace, security, and stability in the Middle East and North Africa. Putin noted that the summit is taking place at a highly challenging time, especially amid the escalation of the war in Gaza. As conflicts in the Middle East rage on in Gaza and elsewhere, both the US and Russia are competing to strengthen their relations and cooperation with Arab countries.
Well, welcome back. We delve deeper into the implication of this historic invitation, and we're joined by Mr. Rami Al-Qalyoubi, a higher School of Economics lecturer from Moscow, and Mr. Mohammed Osman, International Relations Specialist from Cairo. Together, they will help us unpack the strategic motives and potential outcomes of the upcoming Russia-Arab Summit. Let me start here with Mr. Qalyoubi. And what is President Putin's hope to achieve by hosting this Russia-Arab Summit that is held for the very first time at this very particular moment?
Actually, during the last few years, Russia is developing its relations with the Arab world, especially with the Gulf countries, and Egypt, United Emirates, and partially Saudi Arabia, since the beginning of 2024, became members of the BRICS group. So, and now Russia, which is isolated by the Western countries, understands that it needs some alternative partners, including China, India, Arab and African countries. Now, also, Russia understands that now the Arab countries seek to diversify their foreign policy. Gulf countries and Egypt during decades were relying on the United States, but after some time, the Arab countries understood that it's too risky to have one main partner. And now the Arab countries seek to develop relations with the European Union, with Russia, with China, between each other. So this is profitable for both sides, for Russia and the Arab countries, to develop partnership in political, economic, and even military spheres, especially as Russia, along with the Gulf countries, are leading oil producers on the world level, and so Russia and the Arab countries can cooperate in OPEC Plus mechanism to adjust oil prices if necessary. In case of Egypt, Russia is constructing the first nuclear plant in the Daba area on the Mediterranean, so we can see that there is a huge economic Russian presence in the Arab world. There are some countries, the United Arab Emirates, which became headquarters for many Russian companies who avoid European sanctions, and also there is military cooperation with such countries as Algeria, Egypt, and Sudan. So we can see that there is a lot of perspectives for developing these relations.
Right. Mr. Osman, what could be the key interests and the concerns of the Arab states as they consider closer cooperation with Russia, and would all the Arab be on the same wavelength while considering those concerns and interests?
Thank you for having me, Mona. Greetings to you and your guest and your dear audience. Indeed, Russia has been a strategic player and an integral player in the Middle East region and in the Arab world for the better part of a century. This cannot be understated in any way. Russia is not a newcomer to the region, and it does enjoy already very deep relationships with many key Arab actors, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates. It has a very strong presence also in the Sudan, in Libya, in Syria. So we can never discount Russia while discussing Middle East politics in general. So it doesn't come as a surprise that Russia now is moving forward with this idea of holding an Arab-Russia summit, especially that it's basically replicating a previous Russian experiment with this regard, which is the Russia-Africa Summit, which was held in 2019
Yes.
and 2023 as well, and it has proven to be quite a successful platform for Russia to expand its influence and its strategic relationships with a variety of African countries in a variety of regions in the African continent. So I think Russia is seeking to replicate this experience. And on the other hand, the Arab world understands that now we are entering the era of the multipolar world, where the United States is no longer the sole arbiter of geopolitical affairs as things have '14 or '15. Russia has moved to establish strong relationships in the region and strategic relationships in the region after the so-called Arab Spring. The challenges faced by Arab countries pushed them to revive their dormant strategic relationships with Russia. This happened with Egypt in 2013-14, when Egypt and Russia decided to restore their strategic partnership, which existed choice but to maintain a good working relationship with Russia that looks after Russian interests in a country like Syria. Saudi Arabia and Russia have a huge platform of cooperation within the prism of the so-called OPEC Plus. Basically, Russia and Saudi Arabia coordinate together to influence energy markets in an unprecedented way, in a direct challenge, by the way, to the United States. And this is quite remarkable given that Saudi Arabia is a staunch US ally. So the world is changing and the Arab world is responding to how the world is changing. There is already a China Arab Summit that was held last year. And now the Russia-Arab Summit I think, is very important. Mikhail Bogdanov, the special envoy of the Russian president to the Middle East region, attended the last Arab Summit in Baghdad and even attended the emergency Arab Summit in Cairo a few months ago, and also the Cairo Peace Summit that was launched at the beginning of the Gaza war. So you see that Russia has an increased presence in Arab affairs in general, and it's only logical that both sides will try to deepen and expand their strategic relationship for the mutual benefit of both parties.
Those are the interests. We did not speak about the concerns, but we'll get back to you. Mr. Osman, let me go to Mr. Al-Qalyoubi here. And in what ways does Russia seek to differentiate its approach to the Middle East from that of the United States?
Actually, Russia understands that the United States remain the main actor in the Middle East and in the Arab world, because there are such key countries as Saudi Arabia rely on the United States in such questions as weapons, as oil production equipment and investments. But on the other hand, Russia understands that these countries seek to diversify their external relations to get it more balanced. Also, Russia understands that the United States are a key actor in the Palestinian question, as they can put some pressure on Israel to resolve some questions. But Russia can only be an intermediate in some questions as hostages who have dual nationality, Russian and Israeli, but Russia has no instruments to exert pressure neither on Hamas nor on Israel. So that's why Russia develops its ties with the Arab world, but always confirms that Russia's friendship with any country is not directed against the interests of this country with any another country.
That is on the political side. We did not speak about or address the economic side. We'll get back to you, Mr. Qalyoubi, but let me go to Mr. Osman. Mr. Osman, how are Arab leaders likely to interpret and respond to Putin's invitation given the current geopolitical climate? And this raises again what could be concerns.
I think they will be eager to interact positively with the invitation extended by the Russian president during the last summit in Baghdad. Bogdanov presented the invitation to the Arab League member states during the Arab Summit, and I think this has its sheer symbolism, and I think that the Arab countries will respond in kind. President al-Sisi, for example, and we were discussing this a few days ago, you and I, Mona, was in Moscow to attend the Victory Day celebrations, along with President Mahmoud Abbas of Palestine. And a few weeks before that, the King of Bahrain was visiting Russia. And President Putin made visits to the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia in the past couple of years as well. So it's very clear that there is a tradition of back and forth summits between Arab leaders and the Russian president. And I think that gathering them in a larger summit inside in Russia, I think many countries, if not most countries, will reply positively and interact positively with this invitation, especially that Russia is active also in many of the conflict zones in the region. Russia has a strong presence in Libya and is a very influential actor in Libya, a proponent, a major supporter of the House of Representatives, the only elected body in Libya, as well as the Libyan National Army led by Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, supported by Russia and other countries, of course. They are now a very preeminent player in Sudan, supporting the Sudanese armed forces in their war with the rapid support forces. At least for the last year, there were allegations that Wagner, or the former Wagner Corps, was supporting the rapid support forces. However, it seems now that the official Russian government is supporting the Sudanese military, which is the legitimate armed forces of Sudan. As we said, of course, Russia is present in Syria. Russia plays a role in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Russia is part of the Middle East Quartet, which is composed by the United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and Russia, which was supposed to oversee the peace process in the region, which of course has been largely frozen since 2014. And Russia also had a strong relationship with a variety of Palestinian factions, including members of the PLO, including a working relationship with Hamas. And also they are known to have been able to coordinate effectively with Israel, and they do not have a very troubled relationship with Israel either. So Russia has a lot to give if it decides to play a larger role, for example, in the Arab-Palestinian, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, especially that the United States, as we have seen, even though it's supposedly a peace mediator over the past 30 years, it has proven to be biased, it has proven to lack any credibility, and is always on the side of the Israelis. So maybe a more neutral player like Russia throwing their hat in the game could be not a game changer, but it will definitely bring about some positive changes at least. And given that now the United States and Russia are in a process of reconciling and cooperating on a variety of subjects, maybe, and President Trump being open to the idea of multipolarity, he might be more welcoming or more understanding of Russian role in this regard. So I think that the Arab leaders will respond positively. I think that many of the key Arab leaders will attend this summit in October, when it's held, I think, by mid-October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, indeed it will. Mr. Qayyoubi, significant is the timing of this summit, coming directly after President Trump's Gulf tour and the signing of major deals, and that raises again the economic file.
I don't think that there is a direct link, because actually such summits are planned a long time before, and actually the time of the middle of October was chosen probably due to some other considerations, probably when there is some schedule in Putin's agenda, there is free time. So I don't think that there is a direct link, and I am sure that this summit was planned since long time ago, but probably, yes, there might be some connection between the timing when this summit was announced, and this is not a coincidence that it was announced just after Trump's tour in the Gulf.
Right. Ms. Osman, how might the summit impact the balance power between the United States and Russia in the region?
I think that Russia is already a major player in the region. It did challenge the United States before in Libya, in Syria, and on other fronts. So this is not something new. This is not a precedent. However, now I think that there might be more room for competition instead of confrontation in this regard, given that there is a cool down in Russian-U.S. tensions since President Trump returned to the White House, and that now they are more open to cooperating of subjects of common interests. And of course, the Middle East is a very vital region for Russia because of its geographic proximity to Russia, to the Russian Caucasus. Russia is not that far away from the Arab world. And also, that's why Russia is invested in the region and has been always keen since the times of the Soviet Union, or even since the time of Tsarist Russia, has been always keen on having a foothold in this region, for example. So it's very important to understand that the Russians and the Americans might find common areas where they can cooperate, and also can find ways to compete. And competition sometimes might lead to friction, and and this is normal. The thing is, will Russia be willing to play that larger role in the region? Russia has been largely reserved since the Russo-Ukrainian war, not being eager on getting involved in many of the region's conflicts or crises more than it should be. It is involved in Sudan, it is involved in Libya. However, in Syria, they let President Assad fall, for example, for some certain calculations. In Palestine, they could do much more, yet they have done way less than expected from Russia's historical role in supporting the Palestinian cause, for example. However, since Russia now is taking this step of convening the Russia-Arab Summit, it seems that it is interested in expanding its influence in the region once again, especially that the war in Ukraine might end soon, which means that Russia will have more room to maneuver in other parts of the world, including the Arab region, of course. Can this cause tensions with the United States? Certainly. And of course, the recent visit by President Trump to the Gulf region and this very strong development of or strengthening and deepening of Gulf the relationship of the Gulf Arab Gulf states with the United States could be concerning to Russia, because now the Gulf could be more enticed, for example, to increase oil production in order to lower the price of yet it will be very hard for the Russian economy, for example. So there is, and that's why, for example, we see Russia moving to cement its partnership with Iran, on the other hand. So it's a very complex matter, and the Middle East is one of the most complex regions in the world.
Indeed.
And I think Russia is well equipped to play a more vital, a more proactive role in the region. And I am optimistic with regards to this Russian role, because the idea of having one superpower, which is the United States, dictating every aspect of how this region moves forward, has proven over the past 3 days to be to the detriment of this region. Having other major powers involved in Middle East affairs and in Arab affairs will give the Arab world more choices, will give the Arab leaders and the Arab countries more leeway and more space to maneuver and preserve their independence and their national interests.
Indefinitely will open horizons of opportunities. Let me go here to Mr. Qalyoubi. And how does Moscow view its current relations in relationship with the Arab League or the Arab League member states compared to previous decades?
Of course, Russia's relations with Arab League and with Arab states are much more developed compared to the previous decades. In the Soviet era, Moscow was a key actor in the Middle East, in the Arab world. But after the Soviet Union disintegrated, Russia suffered from domestic, economic, political, and social problems. And as a result, priorities were shifted to internal questions rather than foreign policy. And at this period, the relations between Russia and Arab countries degraded a lot. But since about 15 or 20 years, Russia resumed developing its ties with the Arab world, and they became much developed year after year now.
Well, we thank you, Mr. Rami Qalyoubi, a Higher School of Economics lecturer, and Mr. Mohammed Osman, an international relations specialist, for your very valuable insights and for joining us today. As the world's eyes turn to Moscow this October, the first Russia-Arab Summit promises to be a pivotal moment in the evolving landscape of Middle Eastern diplomacy, with global powers vying for influence and regional crises demanding urgent solutions. The choices made in the coming months could reverberate for years to come. We will continue to follow these developments and bring you the latest analysis. But by this we conclude today's episode of In Depth. Many thanks for watching.